No DQ Galaxy. We are live. It is Saturday, April 2nd, 2022. Wrestlemania Saturday. We just had Smackdown. We had Ring of Honor on pay-per-view. We had the Hall of Fame ceremony. A lot of stuff happened tonight. Last night, I should say. I would like to thank everybody for tuning in live. I know it's late. I appreciate you guys sticking around for this live stream. I'm going to try and get through this relatively quickly, but there is a lot to discuss, so we'll get to it here. We had Smackdown. We'll talk about Smackdown first, try to get it out of the way relatively quickly. SmackDown kicked off with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, the Dre, and it was a battle royal. Not a whole lot to say about it. Pretty much all of the participants were in the ring. We had a little video package showcasing Andre and showing the previous winners of the battle royal. And the only people that actually got an entrance were Dolph Ziggler, the NXT champion, and Finn Balor. Cesaro was the first person eliminated from the match. And then you had Reggie throwing out R-Truth. At one point, Happy Corbin came down to ringside to help out his man, Madcap Moss, from being eliminated. They started arguing, though, and then Corbin walked to the back. There was a moment where Commander Aziz and Shanky, they were working together. They eliminated the Viking Raiders, but then they went after each other. And then the other participants took advantage and they worked together to dump out Aziz and Shanky. And then Finn Balor eliminated Damian Priest, who got no entrance. Poor Damian Priest was just a complete afterthought in this match. Then Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler, they worked together to eliminate Tommaso Ciampa, who I do not believe was advertised for this match, but he was in it. He got eliminated by those guys. And then Madcap Moss, he eliminated Roode, Ziggler, and finally Finn Balor to win the Dre. He is your 2022 Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner. Madcap Moss, everybody. I mean, whatever. The match really means nothing. It's just something they do every year, and now it's not even part of WrestleMania. It's just on SmackDown, a WrestleMania SmackDown. And hey, I guess it's fitting. April 1st, April Fool's Day, Madcap Moss wins. I mean, Darren, I really did not have any kind of realistic expectations, although when I saw the lineup, I'm like, well, it has to be Damian Priest or Finn Balor, and it was neither. So there you go. And I kind of expected that because every year when they have like one or two stars in this match, I'm thinking it has to be them, and then it almost never seems to be them. So after this was over, Moss cut a little promo, celebrated his victory. Then we had the Intercontinental Championship match. We had Ricochet, who is coming off of a loss on Monday Night Raw to Austin Theory, defending his title against Angel Garza and Humberto, the Los Lotharios. Match was pretty much exactly what you would expect. Los Lotharios worked over Ricochet. Eventually, each one of them tried to get the win, and that started to create the dissension amongst them. Ricochet would try to take advantage, but then Angel and Humberto would regain the upper hand. Ricochet eventually got the best of them. Ricochet came off the top with a 630 to Angel, and then immediately hit the recoil to Humberto and picked up the 1-2-3 victory to retain his title. Good for him, I guess, but I still feel like the title means nothing at this point, and he's got to actually beat somebody with some kind of recognition and have like a good run for this title and for Ricochet to really have some kind of rehabilitation at this point. Clayton, the Specialist Williams, sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Clayton. Says, talking about Raw after Mania, do you see Johnny Gargatuan returning to reform the DIY with Ciampa? No, I do not think we will be seeing Johnny Gargano on this coming Monday's Raw. I think he's enjoying his time away from wrestling right now, spending time with his new child, and just letting his body heal up. Do not think we will see him on Raw. We had the Steve Austin video package that was shown on Raw. That was played again. We had Sasha Banks and Naomi versus Carmella and Zelina Vega. You had the other teams at ringside, the 4 teams for the women's tag team title match. And pretty basic TV match here. Sasha and Naomi worked together. They got the upper hand, and Naomi got the win over Zelina Vega. So yes, the tag team champions lose again. I mean, are we really going to see Zelina and Carmella somehow retain the titles now? Like, they've lost so many times. Part of me thinks that they're going to win now. I have no idea, but I'm sticking with Sasha and Naomi. That was my gut feeling in the first place. But, man, do I really not care about this match. Everyone wants to talk about The Undertaker, and we will talk about The Undertaker. Stay tuned. I know it's late, but again, I appreciate you guys sticking around for this. We had footage shown of Ronda Rousey training earlier in the day with Shayna Baszler. Said the same thing she's been saying. She'll either make Charlotte Flair tap out or she'll rip off Charlotte's arm and give it to her family as a souvenir. Charlotte came out after there was a video package that was shown for her. She talked about how every woman wants to be her, every man wants her, and she kept saying the phrase, "That's cool," over and over again, I guess trying to make that a catchphrase. Did not work for me. And then she used the go-to line for every promo when you want the people to know that this is serious. She called Ronda Rousey a bitch. So yes, it is personal between these two. We had a Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar video package, another really good video package, but that was pretty much the theme of the Smackdown, video packages and so on and so forth. Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura were coming to the ring for a match, but then Austin Theory tripped Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee was on the table doing the dancing and playing the air guitar. He got knocked down and he chased Austin Theory into Vince McMahon's office, and the door was shut. McAfee decided to kick the door down. Vince got in his face and threatened to fire or cancel the match. He threatened to fire McAfee or cancel the match at WrestleMania. And Vince ordered Pat to go back to the ring and do his job. So we had Jey Uso versus Rick Boogs. Boogs was doing all the impressive power stuff that he does. Then we had Austin Theory come back to the ring. He threw a drink at McAfee. Theory ran away again, but Balor met him. Finn Balor coming off of the Andre the Giant loss. Balor attacked Theory, threw him in the ring. Everybody started brawling. Holla, holla, holla. You know what this means. After the commercial break, it got turned into a 6-man match. For those of you following the live streams, you know when this happens, I always go letter grade down. Pat McAfee was ranting on commentary, said that he has to punish this douchebag, Austin Theory, at WrestleMania. And then Austin Theory got the win over Finn Balor for his team. So yes, Finn Balor lost twice on this show. Not once, but twice on one show. Yikes. The only saving grace I can think here, there's a rumor going around that Edge might be forming a new heel faction. And perhaps Damian Priest will be a member. Maybe Finn Balor. Maybe Balor and Priest have a match on Raw. And Edge comes down to the ring and recruits them. Tells them instead of fighting each other, they should work together. And Edge forms a new faction. Other than that, I have no idea what's going on here with Balor and Priest. Like, they went from having a match at WrestleMania, it looked like, to nothing. Priest just gets tossed out in the Battle Royal, and Balor is the runner-up and then gets beat by Austin Theory. Caleb Jacobs sent in a $13.54 super chat. Thank you, Caleb. He says, just got done watching the Hall of Fame. Awesome ceremony. The next line is for you, Aaron. Mr. Freeze. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. Thank you for that, Caleb. Batman versus Robin. Entertaining movie. I don't care what anybody says. I like it. We closed out SmackDown with Happy Talk. So, yeah, this should be another letter grade down for more Corbin and Madcap Moss. They talked about the Battle Royal. Corbin was kind of blowing it off, saying that he already did it in 2016. And he had a new name for McIntyre's sword. Now, if you remember, he stole the sword from McIntyre. He said that they're going to name it Euphoria. And he said that the sword and Drew McIntyre's mother have something in common. He lost both of them. Yeah. McIntyre arrived, knocked out Moss with one punch. So the Andre the Giant Battle Royal guy gets knocked out with one punch from Drew McIntyre. Really tells you how important that Battle Royal was. And McIntyre grabbed the chair, threw the chair in Corbin's face, got his sword back, destroyed the Happy Talk set, and planted the sword in the ring as the pyro went off. And that was SmackDown. Kind of a bland go-home show. I would probably give it a C-. It was decent at times, but did really nothing to get me hyped up for WrestleMania. The video packages were good, but the Austin one we already saw on Raw. So there really wasn't much to write home about with this show. I think the real draw here for people buying tickets to this event was the Hall of Fame. And we're going to get to that here in just a moment. Jason, EXP with a $5 super chat says, hey, Aaron, what WrestleMania match will be your bathroom break? Mine is definitely Corbin versus McIntyre. Well, usually WWE has lengthy enough video packages that you can go to the bathroom before the match even gets started. So I can manage to get in and out very quickly with that. But yeah, if I needed extended time without being too graphic here, I would probably pick that match, with all due respect to Drew McIntyre. So some other news outside of WWE. Ring of Honor had their Super Card of Honor. Obviously, I was watching SmackDown in the Hall of Fame, but I did see some clips, and there were a few big stories coming out of that event. FTR, they are the new Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. They beat the Briscoes, and I've heard nothing but rave reviews for that match. I'll have to check it out in full at some point. But the bigger story coming out of that, we got the Young Bucks attacking the Briscoes, and then FTR issued a challenge. They're going to be doing the Young Bucks versus FTR this coming Wednesday on Dynamite. Pretty big match here. I thought that they would wait on that one, but they are going to be doing that match on Dynamite. Darren says, what are we having for WrestleMania food-wise? What are you, TJS, asking me food questions? Pizza. Pizza's the go-to, right, guys? We haven't decided if we're doing Hungry Howie's or one of the other local chain restaurants in the area. Maybe Pizza Hut. Virtue said Pizza Hut. I saw a commercial for it tonight. Definitely tempting. Will not be Domino's. I will say that much. And the other big story, Samoa Joe showed up at the pay-per-view at the end, and he is officially all elite. Samoa Joe is now part of AEW. He cut a promo. You could check out the video clip on NoDQ.com. Samoa Joe will be on Dynamite this coming Wednesday. Interesting way to bring him in, have Joe appear at the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. And I'm not surprised at all that he's part of AEW. I'm actually surprised they waited as long as they did, but I guess Tony Khan had a plan, wanted to bring in Joe at the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Makes sense to me, and happy to see Joe in AEW. I know the roster is getting more and more crowded, but if Joe can still wrestle, I mean, Joe, CM Punk, and Daniel Bryan in the same company again. That's pretty crazy. Good old JM Jeff Meacham sent in a $5 super chat. Thanks, Jeff. He says, thank you to all who join me for Ring of Honor and support the Jeff Meacham Network and No DQ. Great day for all fans. WrestleMania watch-alongs with Jeff Meacham both nights, 7 p.m. Eastern, and full recaps here on the No DQ channel. So yes, you guys check out Jeff's watch-alongs if that's your thing. Head over to Jeff Meacham Network. You can just search for it on YouTube. And yeah, I'm looking forward to what's going to happen on Dynamite. Samoa Joe, Young Bucks versus FTR. Lots of interesting stuff happening there. Again, NoDQ.com will keep you updated. Now, let's get to the Hall of Fame. I thought this was maybe the best Hall of Fame ceremony they've ever done. Like, it was really fantastic. No weak points, in my opinion. Like, every speech was interesting, and it was just an emotional night too. Like, it really hit with the feels on this particular evening. And I'm not going to go into all the detail. I did write up a recap over on NoDQ.com, but honestly, guys, if you did not see it, I think the whole show is worth watching. I think you should go out of your way and take some time and watch the whole Hall of Fame ceremony and listen to the speeches. Like, everybody did a great job on this show. We had the Steiner brothers coming out first. You had Braun Breaker doing the little speech for his father and his uncle. And he even had a funny line here. He said that he's taken the biggest risk of his career by giving a live mic to his uncle, Scott Steiner. And I also wanted to give a little nod to the video package. There was a Steiner math reference. The narrator said, talking about all their accomplishments, and said, the Steiner math speaks for itself. I definitely appreciated that one. So it was a little sad to see Scott and Rick. I mean, they were looking like they had trouble getting to the ring. You know, they were walking slowly, and they needed that little guardrail to get up and down into the ring. But it was cool to see them, cool to see Scott Steiner, especially in a WWE ring after all the stuff that he said about the company. And, you know, he behaved as I expected. He played nice. He said sometimes having a live mic can go off the rails. And, you know, he thanked all the tag teams they worked with. He told this really bizarre story about Randy Savage and cows. And he talked about how the current superstars need to have fun while they can because the time goes by fast. He put over his wife, said that his two boys, they are his greatest legacy. And then Rick talked for a little bit. Rick basically joked that Scott Steiner took up all of the time. And he put over his brother. He thanked his family. Of course, thanked the fans for supporting them over the years. You know, it was very cool to see these guys. And I don't know if they can physically do anything, but man, I'm still hoping we might get to see something with them at the end of Stand and Deliver. By the way, that's later today. This is Saturday, April 2nd. 3 live streams. That's crazy within a 24-hour period. We got this right now. And then after Stand and Deliver is over, I'll be doing a live stream recap. And then again, after night 1 of WrestleMania, which could end up going into Sunday, depending on how long the show is. We had Booker T do the speech for his wife, Sharmell, put her over, all that stuff. He did the All Hail Queen Sharmell. And, you know, I have my mixed feelings about Sharmell being in the Hall of Fame. Not sure she would be at the top of my list, but I will give her respect and props. She did a hell of a job with this speech. She was very well spoken, and she talked about how this was a fairy tale come true. She brought up the Nitro girls, brought up the women she worked with like Molly Holly, talked about the male wrestlers she worked with like Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio. She thanked her husband for the role of a lifetime, said it was easy to follow in his lead. And she thanked all the people behind the scenes in WWE, her hometown, her family, her friends. And it was well done. I thought it was a really, really strong speech from her. So all hail Queen Sharmell. I will give her props. Dwayne Atkinson sent in a $5 super chat. Says, I'm not a crier by all means, but I shed a few dozen tears for this Hall of Fame class. A lot more for The Undertaker. I'm sure he'll make an appearance at WrestleMania. Well, there was a line from The Undertaker, and we'll get to that here in just a little bit. Thank you, Dwayne. And again, I really do appreciate you guys tuning in. Darren, you and everybody else, you're all appreciated. And it really means a lot that you guys stick around for these live streams, especially when they are so late into the night. But hey, it's WrestleMania weekend. It's a special occasion here. It only happens once a year when we're going through all this craziness that is WrestleMania and all the other shows on top of that. We had Dana Warrior coming out for the Warrior Award. She did her usual spiel that she does every year for the award. And we had a really, really cool entrance here. JTG, Shad Gaspard's Crime Time tag team partner. He came to the ring along with Shad's wife and Shad's son. JTG and Shad, they did the Crime Time handshake. That was, definitely a tearful moment. And the crowd did a Shad's a hero chant. The son really held it together. And Shad's wife did this speech, called him a gentle giant, lived his life with no regrets, and told her son that the best of daddy lives in you. Again, really, really emotional stuff here. And everybody held it together, though. And she said that anybody would be lucky to have a dad like Shad. I mean, this was just really awesome. And I've been saying this for a while now. They should just call it the Shad Gaspard Award. Like the whole Dana Warrior thing. I think they should change the name of the award, but that's just my opinion on it. I know I'm not alone, though. I know a lot of other people feel the same way about it. James sent in a $5 super chat. Says, as a father, the induction of Shad hit me right in the feels. When faced with an impossible situation, I would do the same for my kids. Love this. Yeah, I mean, there's so many people that can relate to this. And if you're a parent, you would do anything for your child. And that's what Shad did. He did anything that was possible. And ultimately, he sacrificed his life to save his son's life. And can't ask for a better father than that. So I want to try to have a little bit more of an upbeat tone here, but we got more feels. So we had the induction of Vader. And, people ask, like, why don't they induct more legends that have passed? And the reason is that you don't want it to be too somber, and this was getting there because we had the Shad Gasper speech, and then we had the Vader induction. Vader's wife and son did the induction speech. They had Vader's headgear out there. Vader's son talked about how he couldn't have asked for a better father, said that the fans helped put food on his plate for a long time, and had the fans do the Vader hand gesture. You know, what time is it? It's Vader time. So that was pretty cool. Again, emotional speech here. The only negative, like they should have done this years ago when he was still alive, but still cool that Vader's son and his wife got to be there and have this moment with the fans. And then we had the Undertaker. Wow, this was something. I'm not going to recap it because Undertaker talked for roughly an hour. I'm not going to even try to go into details about what he said. There is a recap on NoDQ.com, and I'll go over a few highlights, but I mean, every single person watching this right now should be, if you did not watch it live, you need to really watch it as soon as you possibly can. This was, I think it was the best Hall of Fame speech we've ever had in WWE. I mean, it was about as in-depth and emotional as you can get. So Vince did the speech. Vince talked about how there's no man more deserving of the honor. Talked about how Undertaker sacrificed his body for 30 years. And then Vince did a pretty funny thing here. He ran through a whole bunch of names that Undertaker has faced over the years, you know, just to showcase the longevity of Undertaker's career. And he said it really fast because he knew the fans were going to do the what chants. And he even acknowledged the chants, but he went through all the names and said that that's just a few of them, and talked about how Undertaker never demanded respect, but rather commanded it, and said that Undertaker got through the 30 years because of his love for the business. And then he introduced the Undertaker. Undertaker came out wearing a suit, but he had his full entrance with the lighting and the blue lighting effect. He came into the ring. He was mic'd up. He had a microphone hooked up to his ear, and they had 4 costumes in the ring, which I thought was a really cool touch. Whoever came up with that, great idea. You had 4 different Undertaker costumes from 4 different eras. Really cool backdrop for this. Robert Hansen sent in a $5 super chat. Says Ric Flair is second only to Ric Flair as the greatest of all time, in my opinion. Well, it's definitely debatable. I mean, you can argue it, and there's different criteria. It's very subjective, but as far as longevity goes, I mean, Undertaker has to be up there at the very top for sure. And somebody who year after year had a big WrestleMania moment, that streak, like, can anybody really replicate that? I don't think so. Michael J sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Michael. And I'm starting to lose my voice now, and we're just getting started with the weekend. Michael J said, you might as well end the Hall of Fame. You're not going to get a better speech than The Undertaker's. That ovation was epic. Never say never. So yeah, if you guys remember years ago, after WrestleMania 18, Hulk Hogan came out in Montreal, and he got this very lengthy standing ovation. Like, the fans would not stop. And that's what happened here with The Undertaker. Like, they were chanting, "Thank you, Taker." They were just on their feet, and they would not stop. He was probably standing there for a good 5 to 10 minutes, and at some point he had to get going with the speech, but he totally soaked it in. They were chanting, "You deserve it." And by the way, he got in the ring and he hugged Vince. He said, "I love you" to Vince. And Vince, you got some emotion out of Vince, which you don't see every day. So, yeah, this was quite emotional. And he talked for a very long time. Like I said, probably an hour. Said he was going to pull back the curtain and people would get a glimpse at Mark Calloway, and talked about how loyal the fans were and they motivated him when he was on the doctor's table. They motivated him to keep going. Talked about how wrestling was what he wanted to do. He was playing basketball, but wrestling was his dream. And his parents told him to do what he wanted to do with his life. And he talked about how there were the physical moves in his career, but there were mental moves that he made throughout his career that helped him have that longevity. And he gave numerous shout outs, as you would expect. Jeff Meacham sent in a $2 super chat, says, Undertaker, best Hall of Fame speech ever. Proud to be a fan. I co-sign on that, good old JM. And Robert Hansen sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Robert. Says, hey, if anybody deserves to talk for an hour, it's The Undertaker. Absolutely. And I'm sure he was given no time limit. He was given the okay to take as long as he wanted for this speech. He sounded like one of those motivational speakers when he was out there, walking back and forth. And it was totally different from any Hall of Fame speech we've ever seen with him out there. Like he was just completely keeping the people on the edge, and they were listening to every word, hanging on every word that he was saying. So he gave a shout out to the Bone Street crew, talked about the Godfather a little bit being a bad influence on him, and paid tribute to the late Yokozuna and Brian Crush Adams. Talked about the characters that were associated with him, Paul Bearer being a vital part of his character. Kane said he was the most genuine human being he's ever known, Mr. Mayor, and said that as a joke, Kane stole his moves, but Kane ultimately did them better than him. Talked about respect and how it's all about showing other people respect, saying something nice to them, smiling at them. Anything positive can help somebody or even save their life. I co-sign on that 100%. And he talked about the legends that came before him, brought up a lot of names like Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. He thanked a lot of people behind the scenes that helped put the character together, and thanked the doctors that fixed him up for all the injuries he had over the years. Talked about the WrestleMania 25 match, something I did not know. This was news to me. He said his match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25 was originally only scheduled to be 15 minutes long, and it was going to be the third match on the card. And they had to make a fuss about it, and they did get more time. They got the higher spot on the card. He thanked Shawn for one of the best matches of his career. And he said, never be content. That was another mental move. They got their extra time. They got their higher spot on the card. They were not content with being third on the card with 15 minutes. He said that it was a pleasure to share the ring with Triple H, and Triple H was definitely getting emotional. Undertaker said their chemistry was undeniable. Talked about the end of an era and how that was one of his favorite moments. He praised his family, as you would expect. Talked about all of his kids. And, of course, talking about Michelle McCool. Said that she was the foundation that his family was built on. Called her his soulmate. Really sweet stuff here. Clayton the Specialist Williams sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, I feel that the Undertaker's speech lit a fire under all the wrestlers. This may be one of the best manias. Oh, for sure. I think that speech from the Undertaker, like, you have to think that every person sitting there on the stage was moved by that speech, and that speech made some kind of an impact. Like the fans too, like I really do think it was the greatest Hall of Fame speech. Like I remember Flair's was really long and it was a really entertaining speech, but I think Undertaker's was just so powerful. Everything that he said, I think, really resonated with everyone. Doesn't matter if you're in the business, if you're a fan. I think that he touched everybody that listened to that speech. It was really just, I mean, I had high expectations for it, but I think it was beyond what I was hoping for. Like he exceeded all expectations with that speech. Like it is an all-timer for sure. I think the greatest one of all time. Now I know I'm saying that coming right off of this, but man, I can't remember one that made such an impact on people. And just seeing the comments here in the chat room, everything I saw on Twitter, like it was amazing. Talked about Vince some more, said Vince was not sold on him at first. He thanked Bruce Pritchard and said Vince gave him an opportunity that changed his life. And he thanked Vince for the gift of The Undertaker and for the gift of friendship. Jeff Meacham said he sat through Flair's. It was wonderful, honored to be there, but he said this was better. So there you go. That comes from somebody who was at the Ric Flair speech. Mike Hunt sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Mike. Says, watching here in Straya, that was awesome. Taker's undoubtedly the GOAT. Australia, I presume, right? Thank you for that. And again, it's all subjective, but as far as characters go, don't think you can really name one greater. As far as the longevity, all the reinventions of the character, like all-time classic. And he wrapped up the speech, talked about the mental moves, perception is reality, respect goes a long way, never be content. He thanked the fans for taking the journey with him and said that now that he's in the Hall of Fame, he can finally rest in peace. But wait, his music played. He put on one of the coats and hats that were displayed in the ring, and he had one final phrase: never say never. You never know. Anything's possible. Clayton the Specialist Williams sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, what was your favorite Taker moment of all time? Well, it's impossible to name just one. I mean, the Michaels match, WrestleMania 25, is right up there. The Hell in a Cell match with Michaels. I mean, there's just way too many to even narrow down to a couple. Like there's just so many great things that he did over the years, and so many entertaining moments, so many classic encounters. And like Vince said, he faced pretty much everybody, a who's who of wrestling. Undertaker was in the ring with that person at one point or another. The Hell in a Cell match with Mankind, just so many of them. And just a class act, you know. Undertaker, a guy that really comes out there and just speaks from the heart, and you don't see anything fake with him. Like, I love Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, but there are times where they're talking and I smell bullshit. And I've never gotten that with The Undertaker. I feel like he's always been a straight shooter, and he's not bullshitting people when he does his interviews or talks about the business. I feel like he's always straight with people. With Hogan and Flair, I felt like at times they would say stuff to fit their own agenda. Jason EXP sent in a $5 super chat. Says, if only we got Sting versus Undertaker, oh, what could have been? I remember like 2011, there was a tease of that match happening, and that would have been the right time. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. But hey, you got WWE 2K22, so you can always whip that bad boy in and play the fantasy matches. But yes, that's one of those biggest what ifs that we never got to see. It would have been too late, I think, by 2015 if they had done that instead of the Triple H match. I would have liked it, but really 2011 would have been the last really good opportunity, in my opinion. BTH sent in a $2 super chat, says, Undertaker is the GOAT, never bailed on WWE/F. That is true as well. He said the fans were loyal, but he was loyal to the company. He never left WWE. He was there all those years. He was there through all the different eras, the golden era, new generation, attitude era, ruthless aggression, PG era, network era. He was through them all. Pandemic era. He was in the Boneyard match. So Undertaker did everything. He was in that video game, 1991 on the Game Boy, Super Wrestlemania. And then 30 years later, he's in WWE 2K22. I mean, who else has done that? It's crazy. It really is a career that I don't see being replicated. Like, there's nothing else like it. So anyways, guys, check out the Hall of Fame, like 100%, if you did not see it. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We're just getting started. I'm going to try to get some sleep here and try to get some rest before Stand and Deliver, which is 1 o'clock Eastern, and then probably 2.5 hours later, so maybe 3:30, 4 Eastern, I'll be on here live to talk about the pay-per-view. And then a couple hours after that, we got WrestleMania Saturday. It's going to be crazy. Thank you guys so much again. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Have a great evening. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com. Take care, everybody.